What do you guys think of the new red dye ban that came down in America today?
I have a lot of
or not
thoughts.
today.
I want to hear
guess it was
Jamie's
a couple
thoughts.
days ago.
I'll say my thoughts because I
Yes.
also in a minute, but I want to hear if you have thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say because I have a spiel.
Okay, I actually just found out tonight when Ben told me. I'd heard that there were like plans to start banning like certain dyes and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know why they didn't do this ages ago. So we've known, like, people have known for a while. Now I just now got on the bandwagon of like not doing like dyes with our girls. Well, at least limiting it, you know. Mm-hmm. They're already into candy, so I'm trying to find alternatives of stuff that like doesn't have dyes in it and everything. But you know, we've known for a long time that dyes are not good. They're literally chemicals that they use to color food, you know? And I'm like, well, my opinion is it's about freaking time. That's my opinion. Like, I'm like, I've been waiting for this to happen for a while. And so I'm happy about it. And I'm hoping that I don't know why they're just doing one. They should be doing like all of them.
A lot of them like yellow and blue and
The tartrazine, I don't even like the yellow dye. Micah sent me a video. I think it was like RFK made it or something like that. And Micah and I were just like, oh, you know, because it's literally the yellow stuff that comes off of processing coal.
For once, Micah's like, have you seen this stuff? And I'm like, we've been on this train for years.
You guys went down the rabbit hole like a long time ago.
We went down a very, very large rabbit hole when I was pregnant, and we were trying to figure out like how we wanted to feed Samuel, and so that's when we went crunchy. After that, we were like, okay, no. I said, okay, no more food dyes. And Ben still struggles with his cereals, but it's getting better.
Well, I haven't had
Peanut
cereals in a long
M&Ms.
time. The M&Ms.
Your
peanut
gummies.
M&Ms. Yeah, gummies.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because, you know, you look at what they put in our food, what they put in our pots and pans and everything.
Our clothes.
And it's wild. And I want to do this from a Christian point of view, though. Like, as Christians, you know, we see all this stuff. We see it all in our food. And it's like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But one, like, I know for us, we don't have the time to dedicate to looking under, you know, for a devil under every rock when we're eating.
Right.
Absolutely.
And when we're shopping for food.
We
Two,
do our best.
We do our best, but
we don't like go wild over it.
And two, like, we can't afford, like, you would have to really scorch earth to be able to avoid a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, my thing is, you know, as a Christian, how do you respond to this? And really it's do what you can, use common sense, and do what you can, and then trust God for the rest.
Yep.
You know, you pray over your food. I would still have something that was made in a Teflon pan that was prayed over than I would have in a cast iron pan that wasn't prayed over. You know what I mean? Like, something that God, you know, you really reach out in faith. You know, the Bible says that God blesses our food and drink and takes sickness away from us. The Bible says, you know, which I think this is a humorous example, but I've used it and I'm kind of like, well, maybe. He says you'll take up any deadly thing, any deadly poison, and it won't harm you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's literal.
I'm like, maybe he thought and saw the USA's food supply and decided to say that for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was for us.
Yeah.
It was for us.
So, but you know, you can trust, and I think, you know, looking at it, you do what you can, but you have to trust God in the environment we live in with the food that we have available and like what's being put out there. You still have to really trust God. Obviously do what you can. And if you can, you know, get away from some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's great that they're banning it and just going,
Oh, yeah.
here's red dye, it's going away. I think it was 2027. Is there where everything's not allowed to have it anymore? I think that was
Is it really
the deal.
that long?
Yeah, I think they've given them 2 years to do it, if I'm not mistaken.
Like kind of like what they do with Kraft mac and cheese when they're like, or I think it was a lot of other, everybody was like looking, or this whole thing came out with like, there's something in Kraft mac and cheese that is really bad. And then they all looked at Annie's. They're like, you don't have it in there, do you? And they're like,
maybe.
We're working on getting rid of it, and you're just like,
right.
So it's like,
Sure you were.
and then they gave them so much time to get rid of it. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, and you
crazy.
look at who owns these companies and stuff, and who's bought these companies, especially processed
Like
foods
pharmaceutical companies. And
It's
like
and big tobacco, which is crazy too, because you have the tobacco industry is a whole interesting thing to dive into as well.
yeah.
But they buy stuff, and it's basically, how can we make things more addictive? How can we even breed fruits to be more addictive to people?
Yeah.
Like, it's gotten to that point where it's like they're now trying to breed the fruit to make it more addictive and sweet and addictive. And it's crazy. It's like,
it is.
You can't leave it alone. You can't
No.
how can we maximize at the expense of others? How can we maximize our profits?
Well, and that's the thing that's crazy to me is like, I don't care how much you like love money and want to profit and all that, but you're like actively killing people with your product.
The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people loving money, and it makes them do a lot of evil stuff.
Because it's like hurting their children. It's hurting all generations. It's hurting the future.
When you have that much money, you can avoid it.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, well, yeah.
You probably don't let your kids have it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I've seen quotes of different people who are, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but who are heads of big companies. Mm-hmm. And they don't let their children or grandchildren use their products. And so like, my thing is, if you're not letting your kids or grandchildren use your products, we don't need to be using them either.
Oh, absolutely.
So I just think that that's really sad, honestly, that they're okay with pushing out those kinds of products and knowingly hurting people.
Yeah. It's insane. And I think that, well, obviously it's deception and like a lot of things like that are contributing to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to fathom though, as people, like people who, want justice, want truth, want to love others and stuff like that. And I think that's why it's so hard for us to understand, like, because, and I know that I didn't used to be that way. I'm only that way because the Lord made me that way. You know, I used to be, and not that I don't have selfish tendencies anymore, like it's still, there's that temptation always, but I know that he's changed me from that selfish person. He's taken a lot of that out and stuff. And, so I'm not like trying to be all like, oh, we're better or whatever, but
right.
We're not. And that's why like it's the deceit of, power and man and, and all that. But I just think it's crazy though that, these pharmaceutical companies, they like are making us sick with all the stuff, the chemicals that they make and put in food and all this other stuff. And then like, we'll provide the cure or whatever and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, it almost sounds like
it's a cyclical cycle.
It is. Cyclical cycle.
You like that word play?
What is that? That's like saying, I don't even.
Cyclical definition.
Yeah.
But like it's just so wild to me. Like it almost sounds like a comic book villain. Like, oh,
Yeah.
It really is though. It's really comic book. It's really
and
comic book levels of evil. Like,
I mean,
and it really is.
Yeah.
Like, you look at big food, basically any big company, even big garlic is crazy.
well, like the baby
Like,
powder
I watched
debacle too.
I watched a documentary about freaking garlic.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy. I'm like, what?
Wait, what?
There's so much drama here. Like, it's
Talk
wild.
about that later. We'll talk about it later.
But yeah,
We can
like,
get into a whole new.
but as a Christian, I do want to get back to the dye and stuff because she did have some things about. But
Yeah.
what's interesting though is, again, as a Christian, you do what you can, but you have to trust God with the rest. Because I think if you get too absorbed in it, you become obsessed with it, and it steals your peace.
It does.
And it can steal your peace, and it can become exhausting, where it's like, oh my gosh, here's a new thing. Like I just saw TikTok, or not TikTok, but Instagram reel. I don't use TikTok, but Instagram reel of a person coming out and saying, guys, throw away your silicone because when it heats up, it's toxic. And I'm like, like, throw away your black plastic because it's toxic. And I'm like,
yeah.
And it's exhausting. It really is exhausting. So you do have to trust the Lord.
To kill you.
Yeah, you do have to trust the Lord and say, Lord, I thank you that you bless what I eat. I thank you that you are my life, that my life is in your hands. And I think that's important for a Christian to remember. Our lives are in his hands. And the Bible says, with long life, I'll satisfy you and show you my salvation. If you're in the will of God, if you're walking with him, he's going to make sure you stay on here in planet Earth long enough to fulfill what he's called you to do.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Like if you walk with him, you submit your life to him, he's going to do that. And so you don't need to worry about, the Bible even says, don't worry about what you'll eat and drink and what tomorrow will bring. Obviously that comes from more of a need, like, a need basis, but it still applies. Like, don't you're going to have to use common sense that God gave you, and shoving 20 Twinkies in your mouth and then asking God to bless your body is tempting the Lord. So you have to use the common sense God gave you.
Yeah.
And, if you can't avoid stuff like that's poison, you probably should. Like you should try and do your best.
Right.
But you have to trust God.
Yeah, absolutely.
With it.
And he'll reveal to you what, things to stay away from. Like that's what happened with Micah and I. Micah was on the podcast, a few episodes, or was it the last episode?
2 episodes.
2 episodes ago. Yeah. He's my husband. And he and I, like, God revealed some stuff to us, and that's why we started not going necessarily down a rabbit hole, but like a tiny rabbit hole. And,
Well, I'll admit, Jamie and I got real freaked out first minute. We were like, we have to recenter and trust God with this, because I'll admit, I was like, what the? I started reading, going down this rabbit hole. I'm like, what the heck?
We can't eat anything. We just have to drink water.
They're poisoning us. Like,
yeah.
It was a little, it wasn't bad. But
it wasn't bad, but it got
a little
intense.
sticky at times. Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, I got to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So first I'm going to hit you with some facts.
Yes.
All right. So what foods have red dye number 3 in them? I have a list.
Skittles.
Now, probably.
Yes.
But so there are two different red dyes. So there's red dye number 3 and there's red dye 40. So just keep that in mind as I read off the list.
Which one got banned?
Red dye number 3. And so as I am listing these off, keep in mind that not all of these things will have red dye number 3 in them, but check the labels because they might.
Okay.
So some of them include strawberry milk, bacon bits, red sprinkles, ring pops, popsicles, red dairy desserts like ice creams, candy corn.
I thought that was a weird one.
There's no red on that, so that's really odd to me.
They mix it with yellow to make orange.
I guess.
I don't know. That's just the artist in me. I'm just like, that's what they did.
Probably.
I don't know.
Dyed marshmallows, maraschino
Like
cherries,
Vegetarian
meats,
ew,
sausages, pudding, acetaminophen or Tylenol.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
I'm not saying that Tylenol does necessarily, but that's often what they're like, what's acetaminophen? It's basically Tylenol, but that's not to say Tylenol has it. I'm just saying
it's the little red letters on it.
Yes.
that's the red dye.
Well, shoot, if you get the Equate brand, it's the whole freaking
half
little
of it.
pill.
Yeah, it's like, what is it, red and blue?
No, it's the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing is. Oh yeah.
We always get dye free for the boys because the liquid has dye in it. So that's what we do.
And
sodas,
Benadryl.
Benadryl. sodas, juice, baby food, soft candies like gummies, and toaster pastries.
Cherry flavored, I bet.
Probably.
And strawberry
And
flavored.
strawberry.
And strawberry.
And wild berry flavored, probably. All the
Yeah.
good ones.
Yeah.
And so that brings the question, what is the daily limit for red dye number 3? It is 0.1 milligrams per day. Now,
That's such a small number.
to give you some context, half a teaspoon of red sprinkles can have anywhere from 1 or 0.16, which is already more, to 0.8 milligrams.
Wow.
Half a teaspoon of sprinkles that you put on your cupcake with red
Wow.
frosting that also has red dye number 3 on it.
That's crazy.
And it could be a pink cupcake,
Yeah.
which also has red dye number 3.
I would assume like a bag of Skittles is well beyond.
I think that's number 40 though.
Okay.
I think she's right. I do remember.
I think that's 40.
Well, I'm sure like a bag of like a couple Peeps is well beyond that
Oh, I'm sure
too.
one
'Cause I think
peep is beyond that.
Peeps were on that list of the ones that had 3 in it.
Okay, I got to know, what is their reasoning for banning red dye number 3,
So the
and like the symptoms of like having too much of it.
So the reason why they've decided to ban red dye number 3 is because it causes cancer in the animals that they've been testing it on. That's their only reason. But I have some studies that have been done. There have been several studies done since the 70s on red dye number 3. And the study that I looked at was posted at the NIH website, which is the National Institute of Health.
That's a .gov website. So
yeah.
Yeah. So it's legit. I wasn't
Yeah.
looking at like some blogger.
Sometimes they're legit. Let's
Yeah.
back that up.
Well, but I mean,
was it a survey?
Yeah. No, like
No,
yeah.
it
I'm
was
just
a
kidding,
legit
yeah.
study.
It's a study.
It was a legit study. It had an abstract. It had all those things. It wasn't like some blogger mom who
Yeah.
doesn't wear shoes when she goes outside.
Hey,
We're getting into the grounding.
that was a personal attack, wasn't it?
I
No, I'm just
honestly didn't even think about you doing that.
I'm just a hippie.
Lily
I'm
would
just,
do that, though.
I'm just
I
a
know.
hippie.
I didn't
100%.
even think about that, honestly.
And I'm not even that crunchy mom. I just am
You
a
just
hippie.
love to not wear shoes outside.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they did a study where they had 3 different groups of kids. They had one that had a lower dose of red dye number 3, a higher dose of red dye number 3, and a placebo. And so they also did an elimination diet prior to make sure that any red dye was out of their system, which I think is really smart. But I was a little ate up about the results. So it showed behavioral changes, but it did not meet the DSM-5 criteria for ADHD. So the US decided to not ban it for that reason.
What? That's insane. So what were the symptoms? Do you
I mean, ADHD
just
symptoms.
all ADHD?
Yeah. So
like lack of focus.
yeah,
Behavioral
inattentiveness,
changes.
behavioral changes, hyperactivity, inability to focus and stuff like that. But because of that study, the EU requested that the use of red dye number 3 be limited. So they made the right decision, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, like Europe is way ahead of us in that.
Yeah.
Like
They
they
have so many things
much
that are banned, the dyes that are banned that we do not have banned
Yet.
yet.
And so for any foods that do contain that dye, they have to have, like, they legally have to have a warning that says that it could cause adverse, that there could be an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. So even they are saying, okay, even though it doesn't necessarily meet the criteria for ADHD, should we really just be giving it to our kids like that?
So not only could this stuff cause cancer, but it also messes with your kids' like
behavior in their
which
brain.
is wild in their brain. So in its developing brain, like, and so who knows what it's actually doing to the child long term, which I would think that would be an interesting study to do and like figure out, but I don't know if we'll ever get there. But that's interesting.
Well, and who knows the other implications? Like we just know that it causes ADHD symptoms. We don't know, like you said, we don't know how it affects brain development. We don't
how
know
it interacts with the other dyes when they're introduced into their kids' diets. Like how does it interact with the dyes? How does it interact with all these other things we're putting in our bodies or medications?
They have
so like,
and the fact that it's even in medications, like it's in a couple different kinds of medication, not just acetaminophen. That was just one that I listed. And one thing that I thought was really interesting too is that the study specifically stated that those kids who did have ADHD, they benefited and their behavior changed in a positive way when they went on the elimination diet.
Yeah. That's crazy. And it's like, when you see that, it's like, why would it's like, you don't know until you know. And then you're like, oh my goodness. You're like, why would I risk it? You know what I mean? Like affecting my children, like
keep feeding my children
and
stuff.
Yeah. It's scary stuff. And like, that's actually what caused Micah and I to go down the rabbit hole is like the list of stuff that they like. So, it was like Quaker Oats. They have their oatmeal and then you see the ingredients from American Quaker Oats. And then it's like this long list of stuff. You don't even know what it is. It's just chemicals.
And that doesn't even include the glyphosate stuff they're spraying on it. I think it's glyphosate that they're spraying on, like the Roundup and stuff.
Yeah.
That we know
and stuff.
Roundup has had billions and billions of dollars of lawsuits that they've paid out because of, and settlements, I guess, because we know it causes cancer. Yet we're spraying our whole wheat supply and food supply, and they trap farmers into using it year by year. And it's so bad too that Mexico was like, hey, we don't want this we don't want to import this wheat. And they basically, the U.S. like, you can't do that. And we basically bullied them, and it's going
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like for their corn, I guess.
Goodness.
Like for their corn. And so that seed is eventually going to intermingle with because it always does, it's going to intermingle with their native seed there, and it's going to totally destroy their crops as well. But yeah, we bullied Mexico into that as well. I forget what thing it was and how we did it, but
like a tariff or something, or
no, some kind of trade thing. I don't understand it. I'm not a political, analyst and stuff. And I don't quite remember what all they said about it, but it was just really interesting. Like how that, but big corporation, again, big food is, for profit, literally destroying like these strains of even corn and stuff. Like we'll destroy the strains of corn in Mexico if it all continues the way it's going. So
well, the fact that the thing that's crazy to me is it's one company and they're making a totally different product for Europeans because of the laws that they have there.
Yeah. Why not just do it for the US?
Why not just do it? Why are you doing? It's cheaper to make that stuff, or I don't know. Actually, honestly, I would assume it's cheaper.
I think it's just cheaper to do, and they're like, "Here you go."
Yeah,
it's
you
cheaper.
American.
Take our garbage food.
Pretty much, take the garbage food, America.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's fake food at that point, and real food is just more expensive.
I often wonder how we're still alive. Like, how are we still alive? We've been filling.
I guess it's from, like the Bible says, by Him we move and live and have our being.
Yeah.
He obviously created humans to be very resilient.
Yeah. Well, because we're basically eating plastic. Like if you and we've known for a long time, McDonald's, their foods, their McFlurries, I think, and I'm sure everybody's have seen the nugget, how they make the nuggets and stuff videos, because that went super viral. Like we know that they put plastic in their food.
In the fries, yeah. What's interesting too about McDonald's fries is they said that I guess there was a study, and don't quote me on this. You can look it up. Like look it up yourself. So don't quote me on this. But from what I remember seeing a video about it, there was a study that said it was as toxic as like smoking, I forget, X amount of cigarettes.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Can you fact check that for me?
Yeah.
But I thought that was really crazy. But what's interesting too is Steak and Shake just announced by February 2025 they're switching all their oil to beef tallow for their fries.
Really?
I love Steak and Shake. Yay. When are they doing that?
In February 2025.
I can never get Micah to take me to Steak and Shake.
We have gift cards.
I know.
Go in
I
February.
love Steak and Shake.
We got on that Earl's auction and bought $100 worth of gift cards for like super cheap because they were just auctioning off a ton of them.
What?
And so they had them in lots of like 100 and
we
we got
them.
one.
We got them like half off or something.
Did you
Well,
get, like,
less than half
rando
off,
gift cards,
basically.
too? Like-
No, just Steak and Shake.
Oh, okay.
So it was cool.
That
It was
is cool.
But the Steak and Shake by us is weirdly good. They do a weirdly good job. And so we're like, oh, okay, we'll
Love Steak and they recently switched over from like, because like the reason why I didn't like going to Steak and Shake is because I'm like, this is a fast food restaurant. I don't want to really like. This sounds horrible, but I'm like, I don't really want to tip
What are you talking about?
because I'm like, it's a fast food restaurant. Like, just I can pick up my food from the
leave.
counter and just like go sit down, like, and
Yeah.
clean up my mess. Like, I didn't understand it, and they finally got rid of their servers and
Poor
became a
servers.
full-on restaurant or like fast food. Well, they're fast
Okay.
food. Well, and that's the other thing is they're considered a fast food restaurant, but their food takes a long time to make. Like, it's weird.
It's not too long when we go.
At the one that I used to go to, it took a very long time. We'd be in line for like 30 minutes, like if you ever went through the drive-thru. But I will say I have gone fairly recently, and they've changed everything. They don't even, actually, this is kind of sad because they don't even have people that take your order anymore. You have to do it on the machine now. And then, but it's way cheaper. It's way cheaper than it was because I was stopped going because it got so expensive. And the food, I love Steak and Shake. I know it's gross, but it's so
The
good.
one by us is good. Like
Yeah.
the
They
one
do a
by
good
us
job.
does a good job.
I love Steak and Shake.
Season their food really well.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do. And it's not like overly like it doesn't feel like super greasy and gross.
Feels a little greasy.
Well,
It's a little
my
greasy.
burger is a little greasy, but that's because it's literally garlic butter all over
Yeah.
it. But
Okay, what's your favorite thing to get at Steak and Shake? I gotta ask.
I just like the original steak burger.
I always
my
get the
favorite thing.
garlic.
She gets the garlic butter burger or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
Okay, I always get the Frisco
so good.
melt and their fries.
Those are good,
Oh,
too.
and you have to get a milkshake when you go there. Like, it's
We
just
don't.
it's just not right. That's just
Their
not right.
milkshakes,
I
there's
don't
better
like them.
milkshakes out
Yeah,
there.
I don't
Have
like
you
their
had their
milkshakes.
s'mores milkshake before? It literally, I don't know how they do it, but it literally tastes like toasted marshmallows.
Probably with a bunch of chemicals.
You're probably right. And we're here like, no, don't do it. You're probably right. I'll just cry.
So what'd you find out about McDonald's?
So, regarding McDonald's, there was a thing that went around saying that a serving of French fries was worse than smoking 25 packs of cigarettes, and that was not quite factual. So,
I
Okay,
will
that's
say
why I said don't quote me on it
we
because
did-
I didn't research it, so I didn't want to be quoted on it.
we did watch a video about how they make their fries, and there's something different about McDonald's fries. They use a specific type of potato that is really bad.
No, they don't. They it's not the potato that's bad. They gas it.
they gas it.
Yeah, it's like a specific. They do it with this one specific type of potato.
Yeah.
And because we watched a whole video on it, and actually since then we have not eaten at McDonald's since we watched that video because my
Yeah,
parents are
because
like,
they gas it and they have to leave that potato in like wherever they store it, and no, like the farmers won't even go in there for like I think 20 days
they
or something
can't 'cause it's
crazy
toxic.
because it's toxic.
it's insane how
and
they
of course,
treat
you
them.
know, they're like, oh yeah, it dissipates and stuff, but man, I don't want to eat that.
It's in the food. It's still in the food.
It creeps
It's
me out.
dissipating
Like,
from the air into the food.
like they're like, oh yeah, it dissipates out of
soaking.
the food and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, you're soaking it in that weird whatever. I don't know.
Well,
I don't
and they
want that.
do that because like that's how their fries look so pristine. They don't have any
They don't have
spots.
those
They
dark
don't have those
spots,
like
yeah.
weird, you know, and that's why they look so perfect. And it's like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
No,
We literally-
maybe if we did a
since-
study on those fries, we might find some stuff we don't like.
Right.
Yep.
I haven't touched them since, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a sketch.
It is.
Although
sketch.
I will say I've even heard some, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I've even seen some stuff rolling around about Chick-fil-A's fries, and I'm like,
No,
really? Even
not
Chick-fil-A.
not the holy Chick-fil-A fries.
Well, they're really starting to, I think, deteriorate, go downhill. They also changed one of their things where they're not and don't quote me on this again. You can fact check this. Something about their chicken where they've gotten sourcing different chicken now that has antibiotics in it now.
Yeah, I told you about that. It's a hormonal thing.
Yeah. So even I think they're kind of going away. But
and we started off this conversation talking about Chick-fil-A.
I know,
oh,
right?
yeah,
We did. The nuggies.
Yeah, the nuggies.
It's come full circle.
It has come full circle.
It has.
So, and with that, like talking about food and stuff and like raising your kids, navigating all that, it's been really interesting, really tough. I'm like, I don't want to fill up my boys full of, Teflon and stuff. So we switched our pans and stuff like that. But
which is not a cheap switch.
Yeah.
The carbon steel was not that cheap.
And we switched before I got pregnant. We
close to it. Yeah. Yeah, we did. Because
you didn't want us eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, we got to get rid of this. So I told her, we're throwing all these away. We're not giving them to anyone because it's poison. And I threw them all in the trash.
Yeah. I watched them. I was like, oh, that was my graduation gift.
Yeah. I was like, we're getting rid of all these.
I remember when you went down that rabbit hole and we had just bought a brand new nonstick pan. And then I'm like, looking at it all sad, like I have to throw this away now, because I had stainless steel everything like already.
Yeah.
And so,
which is a good thing to cook with.
It's just annoying though, but it's not worth the cancer. So
I figured out if you cook with them, like you can cook an egg on it and not stick. You have to heat it to a certain point.
It's got to get really hot.
It's got to get hot. It's enough where if like
water dances on it.
You throw water on it, it doesn't like, it actually, the water like balls up and dances like mercury or something they said. And basically balls up and dances on it. Mm-hmm. And then it's hot enough, then you can put your oil down, cook it, and it won't stick because it creates like basically a gas layer in between your
Oh, I didn't know that.
metal and whatever you're cooking with.